mining. Little mini so say a bay and yes also. In your house, so good to planning Yakasabi Omina. Eddie and Ramuta, my innocence to water to say. Omano Sabiayo, Omano Sariayo, Ayasata, Oma for Branachman, Omano Sabiayo, Omano Sariayo, Ayasata, Oma for Branachman.
Welcome to SEPSA Talk. I am Evans Apia Kisi, the host of SEPSA Talk. SEPSA is Center for Better Society Advocacy and Research Africa. SEPSA Africa is a non-profit organization that believes in a better society for all. We in SEPSA Africa believe that a better society begins with you and I. Hashtag, a better society begins with me. For more information, please log on to www.sepsaafrica.org. Please follow us on the various social media platforms: YouTube, SEPSA Talk, Facebook at SEPSA Africa, Instagram, SEPSA Africa, and Twitter at SEPSA Africa. Like always, today we bring you another interesting discussion. The topic is banning small-scale mining in Ghana a right call? The effects of banning small-scale mining in Ghana will affect many livelihoods and alter the structure of employment in mining communities. As a matter of fact, new small-scale miners will emerge, others will transform, the sector would still remain unsustainable, and government would have to find ways to address the recurrent problems. Ghana needs to find a lasting solution to this changing small-scale mining problems. Today on SEPSA Talk, we discuss the urgent nationwide action on small-scale mining, including galamsey, the need to support mining education and awareness raising, as well as local capacity building to addressing small-scale mining challenges in Ghana for a sustainable future. And to help us deal with this important issue is our own Mr. Albert Kobina Mensah. He's the CEO of SEPSA Africa. He's currently a doctoral researcher at Ruhr University, Bochum, Germany. He holds Master of Science in Water Resources from Kenyatta University, Nairobi, Kenya. He also holds Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Sciences from University of Cape Coast, Ghana. His interests are politics, good governance, advocacy, better society. His research expertise lies in soil pollution, soil remediation, environmental sustainability, artisanal and small-scale mining sustainability. I must say it's always a pleasure to speak to you, sir. Welcome once again to SEPSA Talk. If you could unmute your audio.
Thank you so much, Evans.
Great. And so yes, great to have you, Mr. Albert Kobina Mensah. Let me first of all apologize to our lovely Sepsarians, those of you who were awaiting this particular discussion for our lateness. We had to deal with some technical challenges, but we are grateful that most of you waited patiently. And please don't forget to keep your comments and your questions coming here. So Albert, let's start straight away, because we've had some of our, I call them the fellow Sepsarians, already waiting for this wonderful discussion that we are about to have, whether banning small-scale mining in Ghana is actually a right call or not. But first of all, I would like you to address this. If you could walk our audience, through what the illegality issue in small-scale mining is. The reason is that sometimes for a lot of lay persons like myself, who is not into this mining business, we get confused the differences between small-scale mining and illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as galamsey, as you once educated us here, to gather and sell. What is the illegality bit in small-scale mining?
Yeah, Evans, Thank you so much for the opportunity, and very good evening to all the people in Ghana, and good morning, good afternoon to the people listening to us across the globe. And we also apologize that we came late. I mean, there has been a lot of technical difficulties at the background. So yeah, but it's good that you issued an apology on our behalf. We are really sorry. Talking about the illegality of small-scale mining, as a matter of fact, do I even classify it as an illegal activity? Probably, I may sound controversial today because addressing the issues with, small-scale mining is really a complicated matter. It's really complex, and many proponents who actually talk about issues about small-scale mining, artisanal mining in Ghana, actually do not understand, especially in the mainstream media. Many people do not understand. So they tend to criminalize, that every as far as they hear small-scale mining, it means it's evil. But Evans, the thing is this: when you go to small-scale mining communities, especially the areas that are hotspot for mining, now these areas are areas that the people see the mining as part of them. Now mining dates back to the 4th century. Now the 4th century, when our forefathers were just picking gold and diamond. Now this type of mining that we talk about here, it is the sole producer of gold. Sorry, it's the sole producer of diamond. It produces diamond 100%. 100% of diamond production comes from the artisanal small-scale mining. Then when it comes to issues of gold, in terms of revenue, this sector, now we will classify it as informal sector. Now both the legal and the illegal, when you add them together, they contribute close to 40% of the total gold revenue in the country. Now recently, it has been stated that even though there was a ban on the activities of what they call illegal mining, now in 2018, the sector contributed 43.1% to the gold revenue. Now, so if a sector does this much to an economy, why do you call the sector illegal? The people were mining their gold. We've been mining our gold. Ghana is called Gold Coast. We've been mining our gold until the arrival of big-scale mining companies. Now, when big-scale mining companies came, now they realized that many of the mining laws were developed in favor of the big-scale mining companies. So then they said that the people, the artisanal miners, which are usually the sub-10, are sort of illegal. But here is the case. So they feel that now their lands have been given to the big-scale mining companies to mine. Once they are living on their land. So they feel that they have the natural entitlement to the land to till it for farming or to till it for mineral extraction. And they feel that the state had not been fair to them when the land actually had been given to other people to mine, when they are actually not mining, when they cannot till the land, because the place where they want to till the land is occupied by large-scale mining concessions. They cannot also go and till the land for, let's say, mineral extraction. So there's something we call mineral right and traditional right. Now, the small-scale mining people, the artisanal miners, feel they have the traditional right to till the land because the land belongs to them. Now, the large-scale miners also feel that they have already bought the land, and so when you come and till the land, you become an encroacher. So you are living on your own land, but when you want to till, you can pick cutlass to go to a place that you want to pick soil. You want to till the land, let's say to farm. That one is not illegal. But when you pick the soil to go and wash, it becomes illegal. Now, what happens? It is because now 80% of the land in Ghana is vested, it belongs to the community. Now, about 20% of the land in Ghana belongs to the president. Because of that, whenever you find any mineral in the soil, okay, that is of mineral, sorry, that is of industrial value, you cannot mine, because that actually is vested in the state. It belongs to the president for the people of Ghana. So in this case, when you go and mine it, extract it, it becomes an illegal activity. So that was how it started. Okay. Now, so there were a lot of clashes between big-scale mining companies and the South-Elkins, because they say they cannot mine. Because when they mine, so you are staying on your land had been given to other people. Okay, when you cannot even sell it, or you cannot even have mineral right to actually pick gold from it. Now, so this is what happened. So in 1989, during the PNDC saw that now this sub-Elton miners actually also contribute to the economy. So in that case, we are going to make you become also legal, because you have been classified as illegal. So the PNDC time enacted what is called the PNDC Law 218. Okay, the PNDC Law 218. Now the PNDC Law 218 stated that now if you want to become, that was as part of the economic recovery program, because Ghana was trying to recover, especially in 1989. There were a lot of structural adjustment programs. So the small scale mining also got its share to become the artisanal mining to become legal. So now, because you want to become legal, so if you want to mine, you are supposed to apply for a license. Now, when you apply for the license actually, it stated that particular small scale, so when you register, it belongs to only the people of Ghana. So when you apply for a license, now you have the mineral right or the mining lease to till the land for a gold extraction. Okay, so that was when some people became legal and others became illegal.
Okay.
So the difference here is that if I don't have license to mine, I am an illegal miner. But if I have the license to mine, I become a small scale miner. So the illegal miners, in quotes, I'm not comfortable using illegal for them. In quotes, the illegal miners are what we call the artisanal miners. And now, if you register to become licensed, then you become a small scale miner. So okay. That is the difference. But I'll be ending here. But the point is that now, so that's how people became illegal. You know, but we ask yourself, is it even an illegal activity? As a matter of fact.
I mean, of course, it's a bit complicated, Albert. But anyway, thanks for the explanation. So at least there's some illegality in small scale mining, and you explain it just for clarification and just for emphasis. You say that for the small scale miners, those who do not have license to mine, they can be described as illegal miners. And I know you are bringing in the angle that you are not comfortable with the illegality aspect. But what do you say? Because the law is the law. I mean, if before 1989 we were not aware and we've passed the PNDC law, I'm sure there's been education. And so are people not right if they describe those without license, you know, if they describe them as illegal miners, are they not right? Because you and I know people do not necessarily say that, because in your answers you said people tend to criminalize some of these people. I think they say that because of the concerns that people have when it comes to their activities, particularly with their impact on water bodies. And so I think we could end the argument there that indeed there are some illegal miners. Or you don't think there are illegal miners in Ghana?
I call them informal miners, because in 1905, we were mining already before before we made it large scale. Now, Evans, permit me to add that for an illegality to perpetuate since 4th century up to now, then it is not the fault of the so-called illegal miners. It is the state that failed them. Now, is it not surprising that a state had not been able to formalize a sector that plays a key role in the production of diamond in the country, and that particular sector had remained informal from that time to now? So it is not the miners, it is the state that had failed them, because every particular sector started as a small scale. If you talk about Amazon, you talk about a lot of sectors started as a small scale. Now, every sector might have, in one way or the other, might have started as an informal sector. Now, what is informal and formal? Formal, you remove the in, then you become formal. So since the 4th century, we have remained small scale. Small scale since up to now. And that's now when you go and pick gold, they say you are an illegal miner.
But I mean, Albert, is it not the same? Are we not speaking the same language? I mean, speaking for the larger Ghanaian populace. I mean, if the state has failed, admittedly, in the past, the state has not acted on, making this illegality legal, if you like, and there's an attempt to do it now, or there's an attempt to criminalize them, so that the motive would be to move them from illegal miners to legal miners, then people are justified to say that there are indeed illegal miners in Ghana. And I guess this is why we are where we are today. The conversation has been elevated to the extent that there are a lot of illegal miners in Ghana, and we need to address that. I know we'll come to how we address it, but just to deal with that bit, this confusion out there, whether there are illegal miners in Ghana or not. I think we could settle it and say that yes, there are illegal miners, and that's why the state, as if it had failed in the past, now the state is up and doing and wants to correct or right the wrong. Great. So let me ask my second question. And now, if let's take away the illegal miners from it, what is actually wrong with small scale mining? What's the current practice of small scale mining? What is wrong with it? Because you don't hear a call for banning large scale mining. We've never heard that, even though I know when we come to, and this is when we come to impacts on the environment, every type of mining, regardless whether small or large scale, we have also heard on SEPSA talk, they all have negative impacts on the environment, even though we know usually the large scale miners will take steps to reclaim and restore some of these things. But what is wrong with the current small scale mining practices that is attracting so much, I wouldn't say hatred, but so much worry and concern that we need to ban small scale mining entirely? But what is wrong with the current practices?
Usually, it's because mining itself, regardless of the scale of production, is environmentally or ecologically not friendly. That tells that if you don't put in place mechanisms to arrest environmental pollution, you will always have it. And mind you that when it comes to environmental pollution, or when it comes to pollution of the ecosystem is a watershed. And a watershed is not only made up of plants or water or soil or whatever. It's also made up of human beings. So the impacts of mining are both on human beings, which is the social aspect, and the environment. That is why in mine sector sustainability, we talk about the profit, the 3 pillars, the profit, which is economic for the organization, the company. We talk about the environment. We talk about the social. Now, in that mine sector sustainability, it has spelled out that because mining of mineral resource is more or less like a extraction of non-renewable resource. Now, when you are extracting a non-renewable resources, it is so different from when you are extracting a renewable resource like cocoa. You understand?
Yes.
So when you are extracting a non-renewable resource, that comes with it consequences. And the consequences are born on the environment and also on the social fabric of the people or of the community. Now, small-scale mining is reviled most often because of its environmental degradation. Okay, be it on the water, on the ecosystem, on the soil, on plants, okay, on the groundwater, and what have you. That is, and it is because the sector is highly not regulated. Permit me to add that in 2017, the sector was banned for 2 years. Now, when it was banned for 2 years, they did not only ban the ones that are illegal, they also banned the small scale, the ones that are even legal.
Okay.
Okay, so indeed, that is to tell you that the state does not actually recognize the small scale, despite the fact that the small scale contributes more than 40% to the gold total revenue in the country. And in 2016 alone, the small scale mining sector contributed more than $2 billion to the economy. Okay, this is so much money that we cannot lose. So what can we do? We can take measures to reduce. I know we'll come to that, but we will take measures. We can when you regulate the sector, you take measures. You know, when you leave the large scale mines will do worse. Okay, if you don't regulate them, I am aware of a lot of mines, okay, that have been mine lands that have been abandoned. And you know what? They have been abandoned by large scale mines after they mined, and that is a breach. That's a breach of the mine sector sustainability. Because the mine sector sustainability itself, in the Ghana EPA laws, there's something we call reclamation bond. The reclamation bond enjoins mining companies at the closure phase of the project life cycle to reclaim the land. If so, how come that there are so many mine lands that have been abandoned, and they are so huge? It is not large scale, but it is small scale. Sorry, it is not small scale that caused it, but it is large scale. That is why it has been argued that the law bites the small scale, but does not bite the large scale. Meanwhile, they equally cause environmental degradation.
Yes, I mean, they equally cause environmental degradation, but you also earlier on alluded to the fact that usually the large-scale miners have mechanisms in place because they are regulated to address some of these environmental impacts. And just to emphasize your point, the main challenge as far as small-scale mining is concerned is the fact that there are not enough mechanisms in place to address their environmental impacts on the society. And I guess this is what we will come to, particularly ways with which we could address some of these challenges. But just a follow-up question. And so then if the main problem is the lack of regulation and the lack of mechanisms to address the environmental impact, is it not a justifiable call that people say that we should ban the small-scale mining, perhaps not for life, but so that we could go back to the drawing table and put in various actions so that we could regulate the sector and make it more environmentally friendly? Wouldn't you call that a justifiable call, or you think that it's an unjustifiable call to end an economic activity, as you argue that once it's an economic activity, we should not criminalize it? But there are also concerns as far as water bodies are concerned. You don't find this a justifiable one?
I agree with you. I am an environmental scientist, and I have always advocated for responsible mining, be it at a small scale level or at a large scale. I will never endorse an illegality. But my point is that if you see the small scale doing things haphazardly, because the small scale actually even have license before, that means they have transited from the artisanal to to the small scale. They have license. Okay. Now, if they have license to mine, then you go ahead and you ban them. Then I am wondering, these are people, they have license to mine. So, and you are banning them because they are causing environmental degradations and all that. But this cannot only be blamed on them. Blame the institutions in charge. Okay, if a small scale company mines and leave the land abandoned, the question is that in the first place, where is leadership? Can you go to China and do this? You go, you till a place. After that, you don't reclaim. You just degrade the place. You spoil the water. You spoil the water. You spoil soil. You spoil the arable lands. Then you go. So blame leadership. Another thing, when we come to issues of why there is multiplicity of small-scale mining and also environmental degradations and all that, I mean, it is a multiple factors. One, it can be regulatory, like I've already told you. Okay, institutional. Okay, like I've already mentioned. Then another issue could be that these small-scale miners that they are mining itself, there are so many bureaucracies impeding them from getting their licenses even in time and to register their businesses. Okay, so that is what happened. Now, sometimes even before they renew their licenses, okay, or before they get a new license or before they renew a license, you know, they have to travel several kilometers from wherever they are and go to Accra and do that. So in that case, if you want and you recognize the small-scale miners and you recognize that they form part of the mining ecosystem and that is a major source of livelihood for the people. Now, you know, when you go to a small-scale mining communities, you find life is going on. Okay, in the 90s, in the 80s, I was in Pristia. In the 80s, in the 90s, and you find that the whole Pristia ecosystem was the small-scale mining was the pivot around which the whole mining community was revolving. You go to Takwa, you go to Konongo, go to Akwetia. Okay, and you realize the small-scale mining is the pivot around which all other activities are revolving. Okay, so if you want to make the sector work, why don't you bring the office for registering small-scale mining, the new ones and the newer of license? Why don't you bring that sector or the office? Why don't you bring it to the community rather than the person traveling so many distances to get license?
This is a very good point, and I'm sure we'll come to that. And I like what you said, the fact that because I asked the question whether it's justifiable, and you really made a very fundamental point that one of the main challenges why these small-scale miners, perhaps their impact on the environment is enormous or not regulated. We should blame it on institutions. And I mean, it sets my mind back to the issue of the banks. You know, it's always the case that we tend to blame the corporates, but we do not hold accountable the various institutions that are responsible for enforcing these laws. And if you don't mind, if you could mention those institutions so we get to know. Sometimes naming and shaming is also very important, because you are right. Then I would probably also advocate that we should perhaps collapse all these institutions, you know, ban all these institutions, because they sat aloof, watched how our water bodies have been destroyed without necessarily enforcing these regulations, because they issue the license to the small-scale miners, like you just talked about. Who are these institutions? I mean, generally in Ghana, which institutions are responsible for these small-scale miners? If you could share with us. And
Evans, thank you. Evans, you know, actually, it is not even only the institutions. Okay, there are multiplicity of factors. Some are political, some are regulatory, like I've told you. So many bureaucratic steps to obtaining a new license and even renewal of licenses. So many bureaucratic steps. And even before they even get the license, it is reported that you have to pay some people and all that before you can get your license. And it can take you not less than 2 years to obtain license. So in this case, the person will not sit down. Before you come, he had already started mining. Then the institutions also come in. Then apart from the institution, even the political, okay, there are people connected, big men big politicians, where people are arrested. It is reported. Okay, there's a man who did a work called Crawford. Crawford reported that there are people who are arrested for engaging in the illegal activity, so-called, or for polluting the environment. Then they call some big men, and the big men come and release them. This a friend of mine wrote a paper and named or conceptualized it and called it catch and release. Catch and release is a phenomenon whereby after the miners, the illegal, perpetuating illegality, so-called illegality, whether small scale or artisanal, when they are caught, big men come to their rescue and they are released. Catch and release.
Thank you. So, I mean, well, I like how you approached it. So basically, as a complex one. It involves a lot of people who are not doing their work well. Right?
That is why Evans, permit me, that's why I said the sector is highly complex. And whoever wants to manage the sector to understand its philosophy, to understand its economic, to understand its sociology and its politics. Because it's a highly complicated, rather than that, you say, they are wicked people, they are spoiling our water bodies, they are greedy. People who enter into small scale mining are not moved by greed. They move into it because of poverty. And research has established that mainly because of poverty. Because these people, let me make this fundamental point. These people are people who are driven by survival and livelihood motive. Please get that. Now, when it comes to the big scale mining companies, they are not driven by survival and livelihood motive. They are driven by profit motive. Okay, so they are there to make profit. A small scale miner goes down there to just pick some soil to go dig and go and wash. It is not because of profit, because of survival motive. Now, when someone is driven by survival and livelihood motive, he does not care about the safety. He doesn't care about the health of the environment. He doesn't care about regulations. He doesn't care about standards. Okay, so it is because an informality is being perpetuated. So if you want to arrest this, then you have to move them from the informal and mark them at the formal section so that you can properly regulate the activity to make sure that they do what is right.
But Albert, I mean, you brought in very fundamental points, and I know we've had discussions around this issue of survival motives versus profit-making motives. But then if you justify their activities with the fact that they want to survive, that's why they are doing this, and so they don't care about the environment, then should we also justify the actions of armed robbers? Should we also say that they are doing this because of survival motives, and so they don't care about the lives of people? They don't care about any regulations.
You know when that is when people make that comparison, I wonder. These are people, small scale miners are people who go underground. You know, their pits are done haphazardly. They go underground. They are looking for money. They go underground. Now, when it comes to issues of armed robbery, you see that armed robber guy is taking a gun and want to come and kill you. But a small scale miner is not killing.
Well, people would argue that they probably kill more than the armed robbers with their distraction on water bodies. Now, I mean, you yourself have written some piece where you talked about the fact that if we are not careful, 2025 is just around the corner. Ghana might be importing water. Okay, currently we know there's a lot of water shortages. The Ghana Water Company is complaining about the huge sums of money that they have to use to be able to treat water. Is that also not a way of killing a lot of people?
I agree, but we are talking about an economic activity that has the potential to ameliorate poverty and to lift many people out of poverty and set them on the path of prosperity. Okay. We are talking about an economic activity.
Very well. I get your point. I think it makes sense here that, I mean, there is no way we can regulate the activities of armed robbers to, reduce poverty. This is a brilliant point out there. So, yeah, I think I now get the differences. But until we regulate it, I think people are also perhaps right to criminalize it until it's being regulated. I guess this is why we are here on the show. Thank you very much, Albert Kobina-Mensah. If you are joining us today, CEPSA Talk is such an interesting discussion. Albert always advises people not to talk about mining with emotions and passions, but you can see that he's already getting into that tangent. He's from a mining community, by the way, and please keep your questions and comments coming. Albert, you mentioned something around the issues of license, the fact that usually for the small scale miners, because today the focus is on small scale miners, they would have to get a license before they start mining, and the bureaucratic process that is involved is usually worrying. We've heard things around things like, so what's the educators, what is this thing we hear about prospective licensing? Because usually, is it because of the long process? That's why when people have prospective license, they go ahead and mine without waiting for the, well, what's the difference with this prospective license? And if people have prospective license, can't they use it to mine, and why?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. In the first place, when it comes to licenses, we have three types. There could be more, but we have the prospective license or the prospecting license. We have the reconnaissance license. Then we have the mining lease. Okay. Now, reconnaissance license and prospecting license are supposed to be obtained for you to explore for what is called industrial mineral. Okay. Now you are going to, when you are given that license, you go, and after you have satisfied some processes with the EPA, the Mineral Commission, and all that, you are first given those licenses, and those licenses, which is it is called prospective license. It is used to prospect for in economics. When you do project appraisal, we have viability, then we have feasibility. This is how we appraise projects. So the gold itself that is there is the gold viable, that is profit. Can you mine? Feasibility. So the prospecting license is used to do that. It's for you to explore and see if you can get gold that has economic value, which we call the industrial mineral. Now, at the end of the prospecting, okay, if you find that the gold over there or the mineral cannot meet industrial mineral value, then you don't have to go ahead. Okay. But then after you have found a mineral of industrial value, okay, then now you come, after satisfying various processes with the EPA and the Mineral Commission, then they will give you what is called the mining lease. The mining lease. Hope you are getting it. Right. Now, it is only the mining lease that allows you to mine. It is only the mining lease that allows you to mine. Now, let me make it clear. So if you see someone or a company or an entity mining with a prospective license, that is an endorsement of illegality. But in the first place, we ask ourselves, how come that there are people with mining prospecting licenses and they are mining, and they might not have mined for one day. They have been in the forest for so many times. Okay, they always go there. They go there with their machines. Okay,
the institutions that are required to aid and enforce the laws set somewhere, I guess.
Well,
Albert, let's go on. I mean, it's an interesting discussion. I want to read something from one commenter here, our own Eric Owusu Dallas, and then I get your thoughts on that. Then we'll come to deal with the solutions, the way forward. Okay, I know you are really against the call to ban small-scale mining, but I think a lot of people feel that within this short term, until we put in measures to regulate the sector, perhaps this is the way to go. And I'm building this question on what Eric sent. So he says, The solution now is for us to ban mining in all forms and make sure we have systems in place to ensure that there is environmental impact assessment done for every mining activity. We have succeeded in polluting our water bodies, and we shall all suffer the consequences. I know this is not your position, but I ask you, in the short term, don't you think this banning, even, I think Eric even extends it to the large scale mining, because he says all forms of mining. Perhaps also he was referring to the small scale miners. In this short term, because you've argued with a lot of people on Facebook, in this short term, don't you think banning is the way to go? So we sit back to address the challenges.
I'm sorry to say that you ban, but it will not work. I've given the fundamentals. Look, the system is so complex that even when you put the miners on alternative livelihood programs, it will not solve them, or it will not deter them from mining. Because
it's not about
I'm making a point. I'm making a point that the system is so complicated that you will tell them that you are going to ban. Okay, you want to ban them for, let's say, you want to ban them for 2 years, 40 years. But the point is that the banning will not work. But we'll come to that. I will explain why it will not work.
No, but see, nobody's calling for banning I think we've gone past that. So in the short term, let's say short term, perhaps you would say 1 to 2 years, where we sit back again, and then, because this is why we brought you here. We're going to look at what we can do to address the challenges that we face. We know there's been an extensive research on this, but we still do this to remind ourselves some of the solutions that are available for policymakers to use. But then the question is that, because I know this is the argument that is going on, for the short term, what's the way forward? Should we allow them to destroy the water bodies and then start the regulatory process, or say that Operation Hot, everybody should stop? Let us all go back to the drawing table and strategize ways by which we could regulate the sector. Is this not a feasible idea?
But you mean in the short term?
In the short term, perhaps a year or 2.
Yeah, that is a possibility, but you don't do that with force. Okay, you don't do that with force. Where you raise your gun, you go to the mining site, and when you see people, no, you don't do that with force. You do that by participate by what is called a dialogue, engagement.
But you think that people understand this language, especially if you want them to stop what they are doing for the first year? Because and mind you, command and control, doing it with force, is also one of the approaches of dealing with some of these things. And so if a lot of people are saying, let's halt their operations, and then let's bring all of them together and discuss ways of addressing these challenges, I think this is the way to go.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, bring them all together. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Community participation. The stakeholders themselves, okay, should be actively participated in that particular dialogue that you want to do. You can't do that dialogue in Accra. When the mining is taking place in Akwetia, okay, the very people, when it comes to issues of participation, it is argued that any participatory process that is passive means where you just exchange information. We sit at the top. We have met at a dialogue, okay, National Small Scale Mining Dialogue in Accra. You have arrived at a conclusion. So you go and you announce it will not work because it was passive. But it has to be active, where you involve the miners themselves. Go to the very community and talk to them. They are human beings. They have conscience. Talk to them. Now it is reported that any project that is devoid of extensive community participation exacerbates conflict. Okay, it does not encourage legitimacy of the project, and it leads to what is called white elephant.
All right.
You bring the policy, but the policy will not heed, because they don't even understand why you brought it. But if you go there and involve them, talk to them,
So let me ask you a direct question before we move on. I mean, there are a few comments and we'll come to how to deal with this participatory approach that you talk about. So until the participatory approach begins, do you think that they should continue mining while we engage them, or we stop them to engage them? What would be your proposal to the government on this?
Like in the interim?
In the interim, yes. Within the shortest possible time. Is the
you know, there's a way we can go about it. Okay, there's a way. What we can do is that, you know, within that even shortest possible time, is there a way we can put these people on economic activity whilst we wait? Do you get my point? Mm-hmm. Is there another economic activity that we can put them on whilst we wait? You understand? Mm-hmm. Is there something we can do for them? That is why that is what I'm saying. We cannot use it. We cannot do it with force. Is there something we can put them on? We'll come to that. We can put them on in the interim.
But which means you agree with banning. Maybe it's just the approach, the use of the control and command. This is where your problem is. I just want to get your opinion on it. Whether banning them within the shortest possible time or within this short term, whether it's a good approach or not. I think for you it's good. If I understand you very well, perhaps we could, instead of just banning them automatically, we could incentivize them or put them onto some alternative livelihoods whilst we engage them. Is this what you are calling for?
That's a possibility, but that is not even banning. That is just trying to sanitize the system, you know.
But we cannot allow them to continue mining. How do we engage them?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that is not actually classified as banning them or criminalizing them. Okay, I've already explained. Right. When you make it participatory, they understand, okay, that within this short time, can you guys lay back a bit? We want to do this, but we are going to put you on another economic activity where you'll be better off in that interim time whilst we try and negotiate. We have dialogue to resolve the issue. All but right. Whereby you sit in Accra, you send military guys, you go there. If you see, we are going to shoot you. And you, it's not going to work.
Yes. So thank you very much. But I think when we come to my next set of questions, this is where I would need you to educate us and highlight various strategies that can be done, because we've seen this before. I mean, in 2017, we used the same approach. I think we're hoping that in 2 years we'd have sanitized the system and regularized it, but here we are again. And so what are some of the things we need to learn from this current approach? Because I guess that the military has already been deployed. And so what we can do to help the system would be to come out with various strategies that can be done so that the military are not there for so long, because then at the end of the day, it comes back to the same problem. Now, Yabua Solomon says, more fire, Chairman. Solomon Kwesi Atta says, I am following and disagree with the survival theory. We have seen the chamfers and the heavy equipment on our water bodies and reserved forests. These are the major destructive agents in the industry targeted. Artisanal miners are not targeting here, but the so-called small-scale miner using graders and dredging ships to destroy the ecosystem.
Solomon, can I react to that quickly?
Let me read the last message from him. He says, sad to say that in Ghana, there is no classification as a medium-scale mining, not regulating, and that's the genesis of the problem. So quickly, if you want to react to that in a minute.
So the question is, now, Solomon was talking about that we need to do what? Solomon
was talking about the fact that we've seen the chanfans and the heavy equipment on our water bodies and reserve forests. So he's saying that these are the major destructive agents in the industry targeted. So he's telling us that those who are targeted are not necessarily the artisanal miners that you talk about, if I should put it that way, but rather those miners who are using graders and dredging ships.
So if the person is doing that, then we do not need military, because there are institutions that are mandated to see to it that the right things and the procedures are followed.
Anyway, then we would come to, I think this argument could go on and on, but clearly we as a country, we need to strategize and come out with ways to address this challenge that we have. And I think that's what I would ask you a few questions. Albert, I've cited your brilliant article. That was a brilliant one. I read it on my Joy Online, where you preferred a number of measures that could be adopted to address this challenge. I think that perhaps we accept the fact that the military has already been deployed, but what should we do to make sure that we do not go back to the same old story again? The military will be there for a year or two, they will go back. Miners would still go there. Like we've always said, we cannot stop galamsey, we cannot stop mining. Perhaps we should find a way to formalize it so that it will inure to the benefit of all. And you already started a discussion already with your concept of participatory approach. In the article that I cited on Joy Online, you said that to be able to tackle the challenges of small-scale mining, the approach must be holistic, involving the very miners and local communities. Now, if we involve these miners and local communities, what exactly do we want them to do? And who are these local communities that you refer to in your at least the miners, we know them. When you say local communities, who are these people that you are referring to?
The community where the mining takes place, and the people, the very people, in participation, there's something we call project affected people. The project that you want to do, which people are the affected. Okay, so this is a policy you are bringing. It's a policy that you are bringing. That policy cannot be done devoid of the very people who are affected by their policy. Now, when you go to mining communities, it is reported that most often environmental decisions are made at the top without actually involving them in the decision making. Now, the fact that you make environmental decisions and you don't involve the actual people who are affected by the project, okay, they will still ignore you because you didn't involve them, and that is how it is. I have witnessed in cases where people, after they have built project for them, they don't use it. You go to your community, you go to your community, you think that the community needs water. That's what you think. Or you think the community needs borehole. You go and build a borehole for them. At the end of the day, they won't use it because you didn't consult them. Now, when you consult the very people who are affected, the miners themselves and the community, at the end of the day, they become watchdogs themselves and they police the resource because they were involved.
I get the point. And maybe just to add to what you said, because a commenter here, A. Raman Nanyin Wobina, I hope I got the name right. And it really adds on to what you are saying with the participatory approach and the involvement of local communities too. And I think you've done justice to it, the fact that they will become watchdogs themselves and they'll be able to identify where the challenges are and where the mining spots are. I read from him, from my galamsey experience, the way to go is the active participatory approach at very remote level. Let's get the conversation done on a roundtable at mining communities and listen to them suggesting their own solutions. Sitting at Accra professing solutions won't work. I think this is exactly what you
Tell the man that God bless him. That's how it is.
Yes.
Look, participation, let me please add this. Participation is always done at the lowest decentralized level. Look, the thing is that I live in Germany, I live in Bochum. I don't. If I want my visa extended, I don't go to Berlin. I do it here. Okay, but everything is made in Accra. How beautiful will it sound, or will it look? One day they are doing a dialogue, and they are doing it in Pristia, because that's a hotspot of gold mining. They are doing a dialogue, and they are doing it in Akwatia. They are doing a dialogue, and they are doing it in Takwa. Okay, and one day they go to the mine site, the small-scale mine site, and have dialogue with them. How beautiful would that be? Because look, Evans, these are Ghanaians. We are in COVID-19. You are depriving them of their livelihood. How are they going to survive when you have not put them on any other mechanisms? You think it's going to work? Let me give you an example. In China, when they wanted to reclaim a site, it's called the Lost Plateau. Now, when they started reclaiming the site, Lost Plateau, I'll just be brief. Lost Plateau was degraded beyond limit. Anybody listening to me can look at how Lost Plateau was reclaimed. Now, you know what happened? The place was reclaimed and life came back as if nothing had happened. The water got rejuvenated, ecosystem started bouncing back, the biodiversity started also coming back, aquatic species started coming back because the very people were given the task. They explained to them they need to reclaim the site, they need to ban for some period of time. I don't know if they understood. You know that they understood to the extent that they became better off that now they were policing themselves. That's what it's called. That's what self-regulation, because they became better off. But I'm so sorry to say that you sit in Accra, you take a decision. If we catch you, we will beat you. I'm sorry. Such command and control measures devoid of participation never work towards environmental solutions.
Thank you very much, Albert. And maybe read another message from Deos Della. He says, I think a temporary ban is ideal for now, but not in the long term. We are talking about livelihoods, sustainability. What do these guys do when the ban is in place? If 1D1F, planting for food and jobs, had been thought through, these guys would find alternative means of making ends meet. But alas, it has all been about sloganeering, and we are back to square one. Lord Eduse also goes on to add that, is banning the only solution? I don't think so. There should be other solutions because it is bread and butter issues. And then I read my last message from Eric. I'll continue later. He says, there can be livelihood support program for those engaging in mining activities in the interim. So we put in place measures to engage them. At the moment, we can't allow them to continue mining Presido. Some of the miners are motivated by greed because even cocoa farms are demolished to make way of mining. We can't say those mining are motivated by survival instincts. The counter argument can also be, why can't they engage in farming activities for survival? But
can I react to the farming?
Before I come to that, so that you react to it, because also in your earlier submission you talked about this livelihood approach, and I think that I'm happy we all kind of on the same tangent that perhaps we need to let them stop. If the word banning is too strong, we need to let them stop their operations now. So we all go back to the drawing table. But in your article on Joy, when you compared the China's ecological restoration, that's through the fishing ban that they did, I must say you were a bit skeptical on the alternative livelihoods approach, but it seems that people are calling for that. We could, in the short interim, put them into some alternative livelihoods and then bring them to the discussion table so that we see the way forward. But in your article, this is the sense I got, or you've shifted your position. Why do you sound a bit skeptical in finding them alternative livelihoods? Evans,
I must say here strongly that putting small-scale miners, even on livelihood programs, will not deter them from mining. That is one, because I've explained from the beginning that they have natural entitlement for digging their land.
Do they have? I thought the law.
Yeah. You know, that's how they feel. They say they are digging for justice.
But their feeling cannot be right. I mean, if we all have feelings, right? And I cannot wake up one day and say that my feeling tells me to go to the Bank of Ghana and take $1 billion because this is my feeling.
Come on. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to go to Bank of Ghana and go and pick $1 billion, because that is not an economic activity.
Well, that point is well made. But that point is well made. But if you bring in the angle that I think we should also educate them that you cannot have that feeling of right when your activity also endangers the environment and it has.
I agree. That is why I'm making a point that
with issues like it is their feeling, they think they have the right to mine. No, the law does not permit them.
So the solution is this. That is I'm saying that you know, policymakers make that mistake several times. And they say, we are going to stop you guys. Go and do farming. Okay? That is what I spoke from the beginning. When you ask the guy to go and do farming, did you ask him if he's interested in farming? Because he's aware that there's farming of rice. He can farm for rice, he can farm for maize, but he chose what? Mining. Because in rural agriculture or in rural agriculture economics, there are two competing there are two competing major occupations or livelihood sources. Two: mining, artisanal small-scale mining, and agriculture. Now, agriculture or mining, artisanal small-scale mining, has relative or comparative advantage over the agricultural sector or over farming because of higher value associated with mining. Let me give you an example. In Malawi, it was found that there's artisanal small-scale mining sector in terms of the rural economy is able to form more than 48% of the household income. Agriculture actually dwarfed by 28%. In terms of agriculture or farming, it is seasonal. It can happen. The crop might do well or might not do well. The artisanal small-scale mining is you just go pick. I'm just trying to give you the reasons why when you sit and you think that alternative livelihood programs will help them, it will not work. That is what I'm trying to explain. Okay, because mining, this farming crops and all that, they are all seasonal. They are prone to insurance. You can lose your crops. Okay, it takes time for you to get. Okay, then there's low income also associated with the sector. Now, the small scale mining, like I told you, in Ghana, one is talking about a minimum value of between 1,000 Ghana cedis to 5,000 Ghana cedis a month. Okay, that is why when you think that when you put them on alternative livelihood program is going to stop them, it never works. And there's a paper written by one researcher that was stated that they come, he said I should go and farm. But I say I don't want farming. Now if I said I don't want farming, you can't kill me. Because I knew there's farming, and I've given the reasons why small scale or artisanal small scale mining sector will always dominate the mining in terms of rural development economies. Sorry, it will always dominate farming in terms of rural development economies. And reasons why alternative livelihood programs will not even work. Because the people have natural entitlement to what they do. Now, to answer your question about your question,
I think you answered it. I wanted to find out. I was a bit puzzled because in your article cited on MindJoy, you were a bit skeptical with regard to alternative livelihoods being a solution to this. But I mean, a few of our commenters, including yourself, in your earlier submission, also alluded to the fact that alternative livelihood programs could be the way forward, at least within the shortest possible time for them, instead of saying driving them home or banning them. But I think you've answered it quite well. The fact that it comes with the gains that they are likely to get. You even place a figure on it that they are likely to get between 1,000 to 1,500.
No, 5,000.
5,000 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. That's
a month.
A month, a lot of money. But anyway, I don't want us to go into that argument of whether it's driven by greed or not. But I think to some extent, I agree with Eric when he brings in the angle that sometimes it's driven by greed, because you have some cocoa farmers who say that, well, it is quicker to make a lot of money, and so I sell my cocoa farms, or I demolish my cocoa farms and I start mining. But let us not go into that argument. But if you want to have a bite on it, just a minute or two because of time, then
okay.
I'll allow
so
you.
my point is that, just to answer Eric, In the first place, that is why I have established the many fundamentals. Why this will not work, why this will work. In the first place, why did the cocoa farmer himself or herself, why did he sell his or her cocoa farm? Because like I told you, in rural development economies, two major livelihoods compete: artisanal small-scale mining and farming. And farming will always dwarf artisanal small-scale mining because of the reason that I've given you. That is why cocoa farmer is capable of selling his or her cocoa farm to a small-scale miner. When he finishes, he will come and cry that they have destroyed his or her cocoa, but he did it. That is not greed, because it is not established by research.
Okay.
The people who engage in small-scale mining are not driven by greed. It is because of poverty.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Mr. A.K. Mensah. And I would allow you to pour out about 5 to 10 points in our effort to promote responsible and sustainable small-scale mining in Ghana. And I mean, I know you've listed a few things, but if you could walk us through one after the other. I think that we should come to a consensus that the banning is already taking place. The military has been deployed. I'm not too sure we could call them back. I think it has a majority support. What a lot of people are calling for is to make sure that things are fast-tracked. I mean, we do not keep them for 2 years, 3 years, because then in the end, the miners will go back. We know in the evenings, they have their ways of doing it. And so we feel that, and we in Sub-Saharan Africa believe that small-scale mining is indeed the future of Ghana's mining sector, because it's a major poverty reducing strategy. We are not supposed to criminalize it. It's a poverty reducing strategy. If we put in the right measures and regulate this sector, it has a very positive economic impact on the livelihoods of most Ghanaians. So Albert, the ban has happened. We probably could not amass a lot of people to go on the streets or hashtag and say, let's allow them. I think for most people, this is a good step. Now, moving beyond the banning, what do you expect in the next year, in the next 2 years? How do you feel that things should be done so that at least within the shortest possible time, I would say within the next year, our miners are back to their economic activity and helping to reduce poverty in Ghana? You've said a whole lot of things beyond the participatory approach. You could also list them. What would be your 5 to 10 key points to the government to address this challenge?
In terms of that, thank you so much, Dr. Kisi. In terms of that, in terms of the alternative livelihood program itself, okay, we can equally, instead of thinking that we have stopped you guys, you people go and plant food crops, go and rear animals. People have their preferences. Now let me, because we don't have much time. I had a whole lot of things to talk about, but because of time, let me talk about.
Our time is up, but we've been given extra 10 to 15 minutes, so we could do that.
Yeah. Now let me summarize using, if we want to, because the topic is banning a right call, and I am against banning. But if we want banning to be done, then it should be done right, so that the people at the end of the day will be better off. These are my suggestions.
All right, let's go. Let's hear them.
Now, my suggestion is that I would take the cues from how that restoration project, the ban that was put on the fishing project in the river in China. This is what they did. It was holistic. It was well planned ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was well coordinated, backed by scientific research that this is going to work.
Mm.
Okay, it is not something which is informal. Buga. We think when you go, if you see me, we'll shoot you. Those things are not backed by any law. Okay, it is highly informal, and it is not stipulated in any act or enactment. So what you do is, if you want to do this, find a better resettlement for the people who are affected. Find a better resettlement for them, resettlement plans for them. Okay, give them social security. Give them other sources of employment. Okay, now give them monthly allowance. give them health insurance, give them insurance on other things, okay? And if possible, give them money to be able to start other businesses so that they are not worse off at the end of the ban. I read a paper from a friend of mine, Tuoku, 2020. He reported that when the ban happened in 2017 to to the time it was lifted, it led to loss of livelihood. Parents couldn't pay school fees, especially women were affected, and they couldn't pay school fees of their wards. It heightened insecurity in mining communities, and that's what we want to avoid. Unemployment is a national security threat. So when someone is not doing something, then it provides a fertile ground for the person to become a vagabond. So just like I've listed, put them on all these things, put them on social security, put them on health insurance, put them on better resettlement plans, okay? Give them monthly allowance, give them subsidies, give them money to be able to do other businesses that they want to do. At the end of the day, keep the education going, heighten the education in the mining communities, educate them why, if you're going to ban, okay, you're going to ban for, let's say, even a year, or you're going to ban for, let's say, a month. Tell them why that ban is necessary, and it's for their own good, for them to understand to the extent that they will even participate to be able to educate when they see their friends. You know, in China, when they did that, there were people, even though there was a ban, 10-year ban, there were people who were going fishing at night. They were still going fishing at night, but at the end of the day, the people themselves were fishing these people out. Okay, because they became better off. Then finally, back everything with scientific research. Okay, support it with scientific research. When you went to the field, whatever happened over there, okay, if it's about 1 year that you're going to ban, if it's about one month, keep note of everything. Okay, and back it to scientific research, regular publications of what is happening. Okay, how is the ecosystem being restored? Get scientists. Some are taking data on water, others are taking on how the ecosystem is being restored, others are working on the groundwater, others are working on the soil. Then it means we have a cogent plan, not something informal. You know, Ghana is highly informal. You know, when we're able to do this, then it means that we are doing this for posterity's sake. Okay, but ask yourself, the 2-year ban that was put in place, were any data taken on this environmental parameter that I've talked about? These are the things we need to do as a society. Okay, I think that with this, the people will be better off, and because at the end of the day, like the people in China, they were so happy. They were making like $30,000 and over. So they were better. They even went on and they were picking waste and all that from the sea to protect the sea, the river. They were picking waste from it. So they became better off to the extent that they even felt sorry that they did what they did to get the fishes or the aquatic species depleted. They felt sorry. And I think that these guys be able to do this. But my brother, if we go and say, if you see, we're going to shoot you, he's a threat to national security because he becomes idle. So if you're able to put these things in place, then also when it comes to reclamation and all that, the last time I heard that Zoom Lion is being contacted to do reclamation. So I went to Zoom Lion's website and I was like, when did Zoom Lion start? When did they start reclaiming my lands? You know, let us get the engineers to be able to reclaim the mine. Look, all the problems, environmental problems that we see, I'm an environmentalist, all of them can be solved. Mercury pollution, water pollution, everything can be solved. The water can be rejuvenated. Everything. So I end by collaboration between the mining companies and the small-scale miners. That the mining companies can treat the small-scale mining scheme as part of their corporate social responsibilities, such that they themselves help the small-scale miners in terms of reclaiming their degraded mine sites, in terms of training them on ore processing, safety measures, okay, in terms of health protection, in terms of trade, okay, and in terms of the mining methods and environmental protection, all of them, okay, because when you do that, then there's a synchrony between the small scale miners and the large scale, you know, because there's a lot of conflict between them, because the small scale think that the large scales are taking over their natural entitlement. So when you do that, there will be peace. Okay, then we should not bend excavators. Metals are not supposed to be bent. Okay, you can use this to do reclamation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this among many, I think, will be able to help to put things in the right perspective, and not a top-down, ad hoc, reactionary, or stopgap approach that we are doing.
Thank you very much, AK Mensah. I mean, these are brilliant points highlighted. My only worry is when you talk about monthly allowances and subsidies, I wonder if our economy would be able to support that. But by and large, I think the message is clear that to be able to arrest the numerous environmental impacts of small-scale mining in Ghana, we should adopt the bottom-up approach, the participatory approach. I think that we are all looking forward to the day where we would not hear of a dialogue in Accra or a dialogue in Takoradi, but rather a dialogue at the very heart of Takwa, at the very heart of Akwitia, in the very heart of these mining communities. Let us involve the local people. Let us involve the local mining communities to be able to understand the problems and the challenges and their negative impacts on the environment. Let us involve them in designing solutions to address this problem. We hope that the military that has been deployed, it's not going to be business as usual. The military approach has been used since time, I don't know, and it has not been working. But one thing which AK Mensah also said beyond the participatory approach is the fact that all the decisions should be backed by scientific research. And I quote one of our guests who joined us, Dr. Kenneth Bansa, who said that any serious institution sources literature to address some of these problems. There are numerous studies when it comes to some of these mining.
Kenneth is a great guy. He's my research partner.
Exactly, how to address these things. I think we can do it. And mind you, mining is indeed an economic activity. And so we should not criminalize it. It should not be equated to other illegal activities. If we indeed regularize the sector very well, it has the potential to reduce millions of people out of poverty. I would say, AK Mensah, thank you very much for your time. I hope that the message is sent out there and most Ghanaians have understood it. Perhaps in the interim, it's not a bad idea to halt these operations, but we should make sure that the banning is done in the right way and the local people are actually involved. I don't know whether there are a few messages that I can read, but I thought I have read all my messages already. I'm not too sure. I'm sorry if I could not read your messages. Time is fast spent, and I would say thank you very much. And I am Evans Apia Kisi. Hopefully, we'll meet again next week to discuss another important topic. We believe in a better society for all. We think that we can all do it as Ghanaians. Let us come together to help make Ghana a better place for us all. Thank you very much for making time with us wherever you are. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.